is 2 weeks away, with many having the Titans selecting quarterback Cam Ward with the #1 pick. The Browns hold the #2 pick in ESPN's. And the Giants change course in Kiper's latest mock, passing on Shedeur Sanders, selecting Penn State's Abdul Carter. Carter racked up 12 sacks and 23.5 total tackles for loss for Penn State last season. And with the Giants passing on Shedeur Sanders, quarterback now falls to the Saints at number, according to ESPN Analytics' latest draft day predictor. Let's welcome back our NFL crew. Got Damian Woody here with me at the Seaport and our good friend Mina Kimes out west. Mina, starting with you here, which team needs to nail the draft the most?
I'm going to go with the New England Patriots because I think they're picking at a really interesting spot, especially going after what you just described. It seems more likely than not that Ward and Travis Hunter are going to be off the board, potentially Abdul Carter as well, which makes what to do with that pick for overall very interesting. Obviously, they're not taking a quarterback, so they're probably going to be listening for trade calls. But there will also be a lot of pressure on them to improve the circumstances for their young quarterback, Drake. They invested so much in the defense this offseason, and I really liked a lot of the players they brought in. But they still need a left tackle. They still need a wide receiver 1. And they have a quarterback who showed last year that despite playing in what I would argue was the worst situation in the entire NFL, is one of the young, promising passers in this league. So I think that as he enters his second year, there is a lot of pressure on this team through the draft because they weren't really able to in free agency to make his situation better, because you cannot waste another year of his development or make it difficult for him as it was last year.
Meaning, listen, you bring up a good point. I think, that situation New England bears watching. I'm going to stay in the same division, and I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins, and here's why. I think that when I look at Mike McDaniel and this Dolphins team, I think they're at a crossroads a little bit. Mm-hmm. We laud Mike McDaniel, his play calling, the scheme, the diversity in which they run their offense. But I think the league is starting to catch up to the Miami Dolphins. They do a lot of what we call, they throw a lot of eye candy at you on offense. But at the end of the day, you got to win to capture the line of scrimmage. You got to win up front. And what we saw from the Miami Dolphins last year is that they couldn't really do that with authority. Mm-hmm. And I think at the end of the day, the Miami Dolphins has to start kind of thinking about, okay, what do we want to be on offense? We know Tua's accurate. We know we got speed at the wide receiver position. But if you can't capture the line of scrimmage with authority, it doesn't matter. And when was the last time the Miami Dolphins won a game that mattered or beat a good team? It's been quite a while. And so for me, I think this is an important offseason, an important draft for the Miami Dolphins to kind of reestablish themselves, particularly in the line of scrimmage, both offensively and defensively for the Miami Dolphins.
All right, so I'm going a different direction here. And we've talked about the New York Giants. I know that you brought up John Mara, the owner of the Giants, and what he kind of put forth there, that they can't be patient anymore, that there is a lot of pressure on this team to get it right at quarterback. And just because they brought in Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson in free agency, I still think that if Shedeur's there, why would you not take him? Because for a number of different reasons, you got 8 draft picks. You got to get this right if you're Joe Schoen, if you're Brian Daboll, because jobs are on the line. And sometimes that pressure will lead front offices into making decisions to try to save their jobs, to try to not be thinking long term, but thinking about the right here and the right now. So if you're New York, knowing that all that's at stake after being at the cellar of the NFL all year, you had the #1 pick in your grasp, and then you screwed it up by winning that game against the Indianapolis Colts. I think they've got to nail this draft in order for the people currently in the building to stay in the building, if that's what they so choose. But Mina, I want to get back to you because you brought up the New England Patriots. So that's a good segue here to their new head coach, Mike Vrabel, making headlines in his address to his players. Take a listen.
I just asked that when we're in a meeting, okay, that we just pull our hoods down and we go from there. Be on time, okay? We just talked about time. Be on time. And if I can't be on time, Christian, what's the easiest thing to do? You would just call, right? That's called communicate. And the cell phones, okay? We all got cell phones, okay? Most of you have more than one, as a matter of fact. Just leave the cell phone in your bag. but just put the phone away. What my goal was, that I told everybody in the building, and I told Mr. Kraft, I told the coaches, it was to build a program that you guys and the coaches and the staff wanted to be a part of, that they wanted to protect. When you care about something, do you protect it? Yep. And that you were proud of it.
All right, so seems simple enough. Be present, and if you can't be present, make sure that you let people know where you are, and just sounds like a respect thing. Damian, you, as a former champion with this team, you know Mike Vrabel, you've played with Mike Vrabel. What did you like about what he had to say in his address to his team? I
think the biggest thing I took away from it is like treating the players like men. Like listen, simple stuff. Just be on time. Do the things that you know you're supposed to do.
Sure.
And I think, being in that environment for 4 years under Bill Belichick, trust me, it's a totally different feel than when you hear Mike Vrabel, who, is a former player in this league. A lot of players look at former players and head coaches a little differently. So all he wants from those guys, just judging from that, is just be accountable, do the things you're supposed to do, and everything else will continue to work itself out.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything he said sounded pretty dang reasonable, frankly. I know sometimes Belichick disciples get a reputation for, being a little bit old-fashioned or rigid or trying to replicate his culture and copy him rather than find their own voice. But this is not a random, Belichick disciple. This is a head coach in Mike Vrabel who already has a track record of winning on his own. In fact, he is arguably the most successful, or one of them. So I don't have an issue with it. I will say this, and Damien, you know this, whether these cultural changes, how they're judged is going to come down to whether or not this team wins, right? If they're successful, if they can do the things we talked about in terms of creating a better environment for Drake May, then this will be looked at as a catalytic culture change, and he came in and he changed things. If they're not successful, then he'll be judged in the way some Belichick disciples in the past were. Obviously, Detroit being an example that comes to mind. But as far as what we just saw there, that seemed eminently reasonable to me.
Yeah, so to recap, leave your phones in your bag, be on time, don't be late, hoods down during meetings, no maids or valet at the team facility. That's a weird one. Do you bring your maid with you places?
No.
I don't. I leave mine at home. All right, it's never too early to talk about what young quarterback is facing the most pressure to improve next season. That's what we are debating next. And Alexander Volkanovski returning to the octagon after a year's absence. Would a win Saturday cement him as the greatest light featherweight fighter ever? Dustin Poirier joining the show next.
Chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Và hôm nay mình sẽ tiếp tục hướng dẫn các bạn làm vòng. Và hôm nay của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là mèo ngáy. Mọi người, hôm nay vòng của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là mèo vàng. Bây giờ mình bắt đầu làm nhé. Mỏi quá trời. Ủa lại nghe đâu?